Okay. Recording. All right, we're going to do some HTML5 tags for video, audio, and Canvas. All right, Canvas is a new tag. It's just an empty container for graphics. You have to use scripting to fill the container. The container can be filled with graphics or text or animations. It can be interactive. It can respond to script events and user events. So it can be used in gaming, HTML gaming. So everything you just taught, you can put it into a canvas. The same way that you called events and event listening, you can put that into a canvas on your screen. And so the default is it's a rectangular, empty rectangle that you cannot see on your HTML page. There's no border, there's no content. Here's the tag. You give it an ID, and you can't see anything between the opening and closing tag unless the browser does not support Canvas, and then these words will be visible. You have to always specify an ID so you can refer to it in a script. And it also recommended you always specify a width and a height because it's a container, so it needs to be defined. If you want to add a border, you use the style attribute and you can just give it a border. Okay, so the basic elements is you have to find the canvas element on your page. So you use your get element by ID, and here is the name of the ID that we had on our last. Here it is. So here we do variable canvas, document get element by ID. ID name is my canvas. Then we have to create a drawing object. If we're doing a graphic, we're creating a drawing object. So this is done with an HTML object to get context with 2D in the parentheses. So they set it to variable CTX. We identified the object canvas, this one here, and get context 2D. That's the HTML built-in object that we use. And then you have to draw on the canvas using some scripts. There's objects created for drawing. Here's CTX fill style. That's going to give it a color. You can do a gradient. You can do a pattern. The default is black. Fill rectangle is going to give you a rectangle that's filled in, and it's done with an X and a Y and a width and a height. This is where it's located on the screen. These coordinates are where it's located inside your canvas, and then the width and the height of the rectangle. So here in this example, it's at 0, 0, and in a canvas, 0, 0 is this top left corner. So it will be 150 pixels wide and 75 pixels tall. So hopefully I can open. It's trying. There, can you see this? Try it. Here we have our canvas tag. Our ID is my canvas. It's 20 pixels wide and 100 pixels tall, and it has a solid border of 1 pixel. Here it is rendered on our screen. Now we do our drawing with a script. So here's our canvas document get element by ID my canvas. So we've located our canvas. Here's our var CTX canvas get context 2D object that lets us know we're going to draw here. Then they gave us a fill style. Here's our color. It comes out as red. You can change it. I like to change the colors because that's how I know it's working. There we go. And then here we did a fill rectangle object. So it's 0, 0, XY coordinates lets us know it starts in the up top left corner. If you wanted to move it a few pixels, you can slide it over. You can slide it down. And this is how wide it is. And we can make it smaller. And this is how tall it is. If you want it to be taller than it is high, there's a skinny rectangle, and then we close our script. It's very simple, but that's just the beginning, so we can build our drawing skills, I guess. Here's a little canvas that shows us the coordinates if we scroll over it to help us know. So if we want to draw a line, we have to use these objects. Move to XY, that's the starting point of our line. Line to XY, that's the ending point of our line, but we've just defined the beginning and ending, so we need to use an ink method or a drawing method like stroke. And that means now draw the line from here to here. So if we don't want to start up in that corner, we can move where we start from. We can move where we end. But if you don't have this, it won't draw. This is telling it now draw. Good. Okay. Here's how you draw a circle. You have to begin path as our first object. That's starting our circle. And then our next object is arc. We have to have our XY and our radius, our start angle and our end angle. So if you set your start angle to 0 and your end angle to 2 times pi, which we have to use that math.py JavaScript math object. So the XY will be the center of the circle point on our canvas, and R defines the radius. So here's our little circle. Here's our starting point, XY coordinates. Here's our radius. So if we want him smaller, we shorten our radius, and we want him bigger, we increase our radius. And if you don't want a whole circle, if you want part of a circle, then you do less than. And I will just get an arc. And of course you have to have the stroke object or it won't draw. Here's your defining what you're going to draw, but it won't draw till you tell it to. It can also do gradients. They all have your XYs. You can do a linear gradient and a circular gradient, and you have to add color stops. Here's our canvas. Here's our script. Here's our get element by ID by my canvas. Here's our get context 2D object, says we're going to draw, and then we create our gradient. So it has an object created, and you add color stops. Color stops are between 0 and 1. So if I wanted another guy in there, another color, of course I do. I love colors. I put him in there. I don't want this. That doesn't show. You can see, and you can move them around. And the same with circular gradient. It just gives you more parameters for the circle. You can also do text. You can do fill text, which will be solid. You just identify the font with the font object, and the fill text says this is going to be solid text. Here's my text. Here's my location. Move him over. Move him down. Change the size. Change the font. If you use, instead of stroke or fill text, if you do stroke text, it will not be filled in. You get a hollow outline. You can add color, you can add text alignment, you can center it here. And here you have it's the canvas width and the canvas height divided by 2. So you get a nice good center on your text. You can also fill it with images. You have your image and your XY. I love this one. Here's our canvas. Here's our window onload function. You know about this. You taught us about this. An event. So we still have to get our element by ID. We have to tell it we're going to draw, get context to be. Then for our image, we're referencing our image here by ID. And then you say draw image. You give it an image and you locate it, XY coordinates within your canvas. If you don't have those, it will just be in the upper right corner, upper left corner. And you can render that there. Here are all of the different objects that exist that you can pull. This is W3 Schools. So you just go into the Canvas tutorial and you can see all of the different patterns, linear gradient, color stop. Here's the line styles, just like in any other Windows application, caps, joins, width, miters. Here's our rectangles, and here's our paths. Fill, stroke, begin path, what we used for circle. We can also just do an arc. And you can transform, you can scale things, rotate them, translate them, and transform them. Change size, shift. And here's our font alignment, our text, fill and stroke. That's how we draw an image. And here's some pixel manipulation. More image compositing I didn't do. I can't help you. So that's how you use Canvas. If you can pull your animation that you were doing and put it inside a canvas, and then you can set it in the screen anywhere you want. Okay, so then audio and video are also tags that before HTML5 you had to have a plugin like a Flash player to play audio and video files on your page. And these new tags allow us to embed the audio and the video in our page. Here's the video tag. You identify a width and a height. You identify its source and type. You list more than one. You list more than one. Your browser will play the first file that it recognizes. And it will only display the text between the video tags if your browser doesn't support the video tag. Exactly the same with audio. This controls attribute is really cool. I really like it, so I'm going to show it to you. Here is our video example. Without controls.
But can you make new share?
Can I make what?
A new, because I don't see.
Can you type it? Because your audio is going out. Can you chat?
I mean, can you make new share screen?
No, I can't hear it. I can't hear you. Will you type it for me in chat? Okay. Oh, a new share screen. Yes.
Oh.
I will do it. Can you see it? Better? Do you see the video with do you see the bunny?
Not yet.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay. So with this attribute controls, gives us these video controls to play, pause, volume. Without this, you don't have that ability. You can have autoplay over here as an attribute. It will play automatically, but you can't pause it or stop it. So you need those controls. You can autoplay and do controls at the same time. Autoplay does not work on iPad or iPhone, just the other things, not all mobile devices. So you cite your source, multiple sources, and the browser will pick the first one that it recognizes, and you give it a width. You can do 100%, and it will be responsive to the size of your screen. Good?
Yes.
Yeah. Audio is the same way. You have controls, multiple sources, and your browser will play the first one. You can push play. You can have autoplay. You can take off the controls, but then they can't stop it, so. All right, I think that's all. Yep. How do you feel about it?
It's great, but isn't it quite difficult to draw with Canvas?
I agree. I agree. But now you know how, in case you want to. Now you know how. Okay, well, thank you, Artem, for meeting with me today. I hope you have a good night. I know you're up in the middle of the night. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Nice.
All right, bye-bye.
Have a good day.
Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah?